at you, beautiful, brilliant Anons and Patriots out there. Thank you for coming. Hey, Q Army, you ready for booms? Here we go. Boom, boom, boom. That's it. Now comes the conspiracy label, folks. The deeper we go, the more unrealistic it all becomes. Isn't that right? One we go all. I love Shady too, Susan. Thank you very much. How are you guys doing today, Pickles? Hello, hello, Jeffrey Fowler. Boom, boom, boom. And that brings us into, what is it, February 4th, Shady. This is our first show in February. It is 1:09 p.m. and let's bring in the great Shady Groove. Shady, come on in here.
Hello, hello, hello. I hope everybody out there is doing well. I hope you're enjoying the second week of winning impeachment.
Impeachment, and that was awesome. Part Scale came on, and he was on Judge Janine, and he says, impeachment, M-I-N-T, because we've made a mint off it, man.
And they're raising money hand over fist at the RNC. This is incredible. We've never seen anything like this in the modern day history of politics, my friend.
That's right. Sandy, is it your birthday this month? Mine is too. Mine is actually on Honest Abe's birthday, February 12th.
Not much longer now for you.
But I'm not having it anymore, so I don't want to hear anything about it, guys.
Are you done? You're done with it now?
No, I just want another Q post acknowledging my birthday. That's it.
That'll be good?
That'll be good. That's all I want.
But if you get that, you have to get older.
No. No, it's backfiring.
I don't want to get older.
It's backfiring. So look at you guys.
Great to be back with everybody.
Shady, look at these beautiful Patriots out there. We got Vernon Peterson. We got United States of Q. We got Ressa Lowe. Welcome to the Q Army. Thank you so much, Poussaint. Look at the beautiful mods. We got Carly out here. D-Doll. IOC. How you doing? Oh, is that IOC or A? Oh, I thought that was almost code for AOC. I love you guys. Linda, hello. Welcome, Rosebuds. Love you so much. LK Dark to Light in the house. By the way, get over to LK Dark to Light's channel over there. Subscribe to him. I know a lot of people loved and we know doing the Serial Brain. He's not doing much Serial Brain. He's still doing great work, but he's not doing Serial Brain. The LK Dark to Light right here in this chat room is your new Serial Brain decoder, Shady.
Yes, sir. So glad to have him, and he's doing some amazing work there. I can't say enough about the amount of time and effort and energy that people spend trying to wake everyone up to the truth, man. It is a beautiful thing to watch this movement grow and get more confident and more loud.
That's right. That's right. If the mods can go over there and just drop LK's link, if you could, real quick, I would really appreciate it. Walk with Q. Walk with Q is out here. I actually hung out with him in Tampa. What a great dude. He's got some great stuff going on, too. Like to work with him on it, Shady. You remember that at the Hill Air Force Base Museum, because he couldn't get on there? He had the Q emblem there. It's very, very good looking. And Walk with Q, we need to talk soon. And he's got this really awesome flag with the Q on it, and he's got cards, Great Awakening, QAnon. I would just love him to add intheMatrixxx with 3x's.com on it, though. That's all I want. Because he's got the Q map. He's got wwq.pub is his website, guys. You can get some really great printable materials on there. He's got it all there for you, no cost. But man, throw on intheMatrixxx with 3x's.com. I love you. So get over there, guys. Check it out. We support our Patriots. Absolutely. Welcome, Brad Umholtz. Pseudonym Sue, I love you. Thank you for getting up at nothing o'clock every day. She's from all the way around the other end of the world right now. Eyes, thank you. So, Shady, look at these awesome Patriots here. We got Q posts to go through right now. Let's get to it, Shady. What do you think?
I think that maybe let's dig in, because we've had a couple of very interesting drops, and we've been away for a few days. What did we do? Like 36 hours last week or something?
Yeah, and that's just streaming.
that was quite the marathon. And
because I get up earlier, to get the Twitter account. I try to figure out what I can tweet and try to figure out what's relevant for the news of the day, right, Shady? I worked a lot. Every mod in here, you guys were here. We were all together. We all worked a lot last week, didn't we, Shady?
Yeah, we did, because we love this president and we love freedom and we love the idea of other people learning the truth. I mean, there's really more satisfying than seeing someone ask a question and then take a response and kind of go start to dig on it themselves. And last week was an eye opener for a lot of what we would consider moderates. The moderate center left even saw something that they weren't quite ready for, which was a process that was completely unfair and accusations that were completely untrue, making it to an impeachment hearing. So over and over again, they went and they didn't do anything really but expose themselves to the world, really.
Yeah.
Big.
I mean, and I think yesterday too, with the Democrat learn to code issue, I really, what?
You mean Iowa?
Iowa, right? Des Moines. I mean, that's what they're calling it. I mean, what a debacle. So, I had a tweet today. It says, "Where are they today? Why is John Kerry in Iowa, guys? Do you know why he's in Iowa? I know why, I think he's there to stop Bernie Sanders, and I think that's why you have an issue."
I would have to agree with that, and maybe even to try to get on a ticket.
Yeah, he said, "I'm effing not running." Remember? Yeah, I got that tweet too.
Why does he have to tweet that? Did you see that?
Well, he's a demon.
I mean, man, it's like, okay, well, if you're going to tweet stuff like that, maybe.
Why was he in Antarctica, Ams? He was there to get his eye blackened. Sorry, I just had to say that.
Ams Davis, why was he in Antarctica? Yeah, he wasn't the only one in Antarctica.
Yeah, and they all come back with black eyes. It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is really interesting.
I'm sure that's just a coincidence, guys. All right, here we go.
It's from the cold.
All right, this will be my thread for 131. Man, we're going back in time today. Time travel is fun, right, guys? So this will be my thread for all Q posts for Friday, January 31st, 2020. What happens when the people learn the truth and more? Let's go, Shady.
Boom.
Why don't you take this, my good friend?
So Q puts a post to this Twitter here and says, "What happens when people learn the truth? And what happens when people wake up? They will not be able to walk down the street. The Great Awakening." Q. And what do we have here?
We have this one. So let's actually go to. I think we did play this one. Maybe we play. I don't know.
Doesn't hurt to show people again.
Yeah, I like to go through the full thread. Yep. Shady, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I walked on you.
No, I was just saying let's let people hear it again, because people need to see the reaction that these guys are going to get from us once people know the truth.
And by the way, yes, this was a few months ago or even last year, Shady. This is not people are like, "Oh, well, this isn't a video from recent."
Isn't recent, no, but it doesn't matter.
It's still relevant, guys, because this is what's going to happen. Let's listen. Wow.
I mean, that's what that's what people being held accountable to what they say and what they actually do. Remember, words are not the same as actions, and that's a big part of our political discourse that's dysfunctional.
And think of the audacity. I mean, she's yelling, "Yes, yes, yes, I do. You don't know what you're talking about." Think of the I mean, what
Well, they know exactly what they're talking about, because she had an opportunity to make a deal with the president to legalize, I think, 750,000 people.
That's right.
And they decided to use it for political ammunition to attack the president with. And, much like all this other political ammunition, think Puerto Rico and all of the supplies they just found in the warehouses.
That's right.
They're doing all this stuff to hurt people for optics to fight a guy.
Mm-hmm. Sophie says they won't be able to walk down the street. That's absolutely right. My boss, says Debbie. Look at you. Okay, guys, you see the cool, real quick, Shady, I want to tell everybody that might be new here today, we got 729 watching right now. Thank you very much for finding the most censored channel on YouTube. Julie Diaz, thank you so much. Boom, boom, boom. I love it. This is the most censored channel on YouTube, and we're proud of it. It's a badge of honor. If you guys want to join and get those cool emojis, this is the YouTube channel right there. Right down below this window says to join YouTube membership. You can click that and come on over and join us. If you want the cool emojis, boom, just join the $4.99. If you want to come over and talk to us in Discord, you get the emojis and the Discord, and we got some great people over there right now, Shady, and I want to just make this one statement very clear. There is nothing behind a paywall. This is just something that people that want to help us and support us to continue doing what we're doing, to come over and socialize with us. Shady.
Correct. Yes, and I would like to say thank you to all of the members. You guys are great. It is so fun hanging out and seeing what you're thinking about, what you're digging on, and sharing back and forth.
Yep.
It really is exactly what we kind of envisioned. And really big shout out to Kiwi and Sue for
Kiwi and Sue.
Get this up and going. This has been a labor of love for them, and they are so patriotic and so helpful. I can't even describe it, but it's a great medium to hang out with you guys. So thank you so much, and for your support to help us here to say Patriot citizen journalism is alive. And
we got to say hi to Sandy. We got to say hi to you guys, man. It's so awesome to actually hear you and talk to you. So Shady, wow. And Sue. And Sue and Kiwi. I love you like brothers and sisters, guys. You're amazing. All right, so there's the archive video that I always do because, you never know when somebody's blocked or can't see it or it disappears, right? And for whatever reason, I'm still here. All right, so here we go. The next one, I'll take this one, Shady, because it's a lot longer than the one you read. Context post FISA Q. There you go. And it goes over to Mark Noller here. This is it right here. Attorney General Barr says human trafficking is modern day slavery. Says the issue is a top priority for the whole administration. Pledges that the Justice Department will do all in its power to bring human traffickers to justice. And you guys right out there know this too. Remember what is this, Shady? This is the calm before the storm. Remember that? What is that, Mr. President? You'll find out. You'll see. Remember? Right after he drew that Q, October 5th or 6th time frame, he had meetings, and the meeting was all about human trafficking. And guess what? He basically said exactly what Attorney Barr is saying right here. Yeah. Yep. And he's saying we will do all in our power, in all of the government agencies, to do all in our power to stop human trafficking. But he says, well, maybe we can't stop it all, but we're going to get darn close to, he said we're going to get real close to stopping it.
Yeah, and there you can see now we have the 2018 numbers are up, and the 2019 numbers will be coming out soon. But going from the Obama, Bush, Clinton administrations, around 1,000 arrests a year for trafficking. Last year was up over 10,000. So 10,000 plus for the last 2 years running under this president. So this is actually getting something done. And we had Ivanka just do her summit on trafficking. And interestingly enough, how many of the human trafficking foundations didn't show up, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because they're corrupt. And the corruption doesn't want to be exposed. And the money's not really going to help anybody. It's going to the same thing as foreign aid. And this is part of the crimes against humanity. Slavery, human trafficking, same thing.
That's right. That's amazing. By the way, I think we have something going on here. Breaking news. It is United States of Q's birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to United States of Q.
Thank you very much. Comment to tell me what to sing next time.
Happy birthday, United States of Q. We love you, brother. How was that? Was that good?
You got to happy birthday sang by our president.
Well, yeah. Trump told me to play that for him, just so you know. I mean, hey. Happy birthday, my brother. I hope that was good. You know, you're a very great supporter, United States of Q. Much love to you. Thank you so much, man. And, you know, we got so many great people here on this channel. This is the most red-pilled audience on YouTube. All right, so check this out, Shady. Take it.
Here we have coming soon. And a link to Mr. Shipper. Wait, whoa! In Ukraine.
Wait, what?
To speak at NATO conference, Baltic allies alarmed by Russia's action, united for Ukraine. Well,
So let's send them pillows and blankets, Shady.
Yeah, let's not give them anything to defend them. But let's stand on the Senate floor and scream and yell about how that we took aid away from them in a time of war.
Right, like.
Hair was falling out right there.
Why don't they just really say, you took our pay for play away in a time of war? Why don't they just tell you the truth?
Because they would have to come out and they would have to hashtag corruption.
Corruption? I love it. And let's show you how deep it goes. And, you know, remember, Q has been telling us that this corruption goes from bottom to top, right? Tippy top, tippy top. I just want to play you this real quick.
Deeply involved in this. I will tell you, because as Secretary of State, I was deeply involved in this. All of us in the administration were trying to get rid of that prosecutor. From Obama to the Secretary of State to the Vice President, all of us were working on that. The ambassador, and we knew if Ukraine was going to survive and win the revolution in the end, the Maidan, they had to get rid of that prosecutor, and they did.
Okay.
No.
So he admitted everybody.
Well, he just kind of shared a lot with us, with the class there.
But as told by a reporter, I'm absolutely not running for president. Any reporter otherwise is effing or categorically false. I'm down here to steal the vote for Joe Biden. That's what he says in this tweet.
Or maybe he was there to break the app.
The app. I can code. Oh my gosh. Des Moines. Yeah, so let's keep. Oh my gosh. Des Moines. All right, guys, look at this.
Freedom Day.
God, that was amazing, wasn't it, Shady?
Yeah, and it's also really compelling to see. They had the march down at the UN chambers there to remove the UK flag from the row of EU countries the other day. That was pretty great to see. I hope that a lot more flags come down soon as people realize that you don't want to be restricted from trading with the greatest planet or the greatest country on planet Earth.
Oh, Shady Gnome just joined the Q Army Plus.
Gnome.
Oh, we love you. You didn't have to do that. Oh, so Garden Gnome and me, Shady, and some of the mods here go way back. And Garden Gnome is my favorite gnome ever. And she'll remind you. And she always reminds me that I'm the only gnome. She's the only gnome. I love you, Garden Gnome. Thank you. We've been through a lot, all of us, and you guys understand. I mean, the attacks that we've all endured together, it's very hurtful, guys. So this was Brexit Day.
It has created an amazing bonding experience with great people who stand up for truth.
Yeah. It's been amazing, guys, and I'm happy to be here on this journey with you. And I just want to make this statement again: the intheMatrixxx Twitter account isn't just me; it's all of you guys. When we dig, stuff that we talk about gets up there, right? This is you. There's no one in this Q Army that is above the other. We are all in this together, and I'm trying to stay as true to Q, basically us, right? And then the information. If it's a fact, it's a fact. It's a fact.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
And not ignoring things out of convenience. You know, that's what we're seeing the mainstream do. Like they're ignoring all the if I were programming at Fox News, I'd be showing Bernie Sanders people talking about gulags 10 times a day.
Yep, absolutely. By the way,
but instead I see all the people that are for Bernie and who's going to win the Democrat nomination? I don't care.
Who cares? Nobody can beat Trump right now, guys.
Can't beat it.
Wolfpack Radio's here. Hurricane Ann, how you doing? That was a great interview with Shady there, Hurricane. So thank you very much for doing that. Actually, very good. We also got Coffee Crew Show, and they're digging it. They're awesome as well, guys. We got so many great Patriots here. Wow, guys, thank you. But let's check this video out. Let's see. Do you guys spot anything? Look, there's 17 seconds left. Oh my God! Oh, wait. Wow. UK Patriot. Globalism is dead, my friend. You are freed.
Very, very interesting. I don't hear.
Look at For Whom the Bell Tolls. Hang on, Shade. My connection's unstable. Hang on. Look at those Q signs, Shady. What do you think of that? Sorry, my connection went unstable. Are you there, Shady?
I don't see anybody holding up a sign with a letter L on it or a sign with the letter K on it, but Q signs, huh?
What is Q?
Q is freedom.
Is it?
Q is freedom.
But Q's
baby.
a LARP, Shady.
Q is freedom in a basement.
John Morgan, thank you. Welcome to the Q Army. So, and I get this, Q's fake. Or Q's not real. Okay. Yeah, but you know what, Shady? They never come after the information, which is real. I don't really know who Q is. We don't dox Q. I mean, we have ideas who Q could be, right? We do know that there's photos that have never been seen on the internet before that are very interesting, very close to the president, folks.
Oh,
so
yeah, like
we've got proof.
Like photos from over North Korea.
Julia Diaz says Q is beautiful. I absolutely agree. But how come these people can't debate me on the argument of what Q posts as opposed to Q is real, Q is late, LARP, Q is this, Q is that?
You mean Mike Rothschild and what's Rockefeller? They don't want to really talk about what it says about the trust,
right?
Do they?
No. Vernon Peterson says Q is not a LARP.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I agree.
Wolfpack Radio says, almost killed myself getting to the phone to respond to Matrixxx. I didn't know I could move that quick. Oh my gosh, Hurricane N, thank you so much. And Wolfpack Radio. That's awesome. Look at that, guys. You guys have been amazing. Jackie, look at the mods. Poussaint, Jackie Sue. Guys, give them some love. They work so hard. Last week, we were so exhausted. I don't even know how we did it.
Well, I think that we did it because we have innate desire to win, and we love our country, and there's nothing that's going to stand in the way of the truth, man. And we are seeing complete bald-faced lies being read into the record on our Senate. I wanted to make sure that we all got a good look at that.
Yeah. Right now, I saw somebody say, stop the new world order. Come on, Matrixxx and Shady. Yeah. Great job, mods. Let me see. Honest Content says, the wisdom and love in this room gives me more hope and faith every day for a bright future that lies ahead of us all. Where we go one, we go all. Much love, Patriots.
That's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for the future. We know that we were controlled yesterday, but it doesn't mean we're going to be controlled tomorrow.
I'm done. I want you to be free.
Me too, because if they're free, then I'm going to be free.
If you're free, I'm free.
I might have a horse in that race.
I'm Jeffrey. See, it's in my name, guys. I was born to be free. I was born Jeffrey. Right? I can say my name because the deep state doxed me. Very amazing. Okay, so look at Dan Scavino. Why is he posting all these, Anon memes, Shady?
Well, I tell you, he sure seems to have found a collection of them somewhere.
I love it. And Jeffrey is Jeffrey. You're Jeffrey. I'm Jeffrey. Get it? Get it? But Jeffrey, you can be free with me too. Where we go one,
we go all.
That's right. Look at this. Scavino, who do you want to see President Trump defeat? I mean, it doesn't matter. Look at how many votes. 17,111 votes. Final results. You just can't.
I don't care which one it is.
I just see 17s and 111s all the time, guys. It's very amazing. I want to stop real quick and show you this video right here from our POTUS.
Yes.
Wait, where is it? Hang on. Man, I always get so many damn things open. Oh, by the way, happy Groundhog Day. Punxsutawney Trump was revealed that there's going to be 4 more years of Trump.
Still your president.
Yeah. Punxsutawney Trump. I love that. Press 45 if there's going to be 4 more years of Trump, and you know it. If there's 4 more years of Trump, and you know it, press 45. All right, I have another video here. Here it is. Here it is. All right, let's watch this real quick. Look at this 45, Shady.
I'm free to hug my family. I'm free to start over. This is the greatest day of my life. My heart is just bursting with gratitude. I want to thank President Donald John Trump. Woo! Thank you.
I'm
awesome.
Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I love it. And, you know, since we've kind of been attacked on these, like, you know, gematria and timestamps and all this stuff, I decided to do the timestamp on this tweet.
Uh-huh.
And guess what I think we figured out, Shady?
What'd you find?
Well, first let's go back to the Q map here real quick, and I'm going to show you something. Let's see. Q ag. Hang on one second, guys. This is interesting. So if you run the, you know, the Q ag, you get over here, and this is the, I want to get to the one that's Castle Clean, right? He says, Q says Castle Clean, right? And it's the one with the Marines.
Yeah, the picture out front.
Yep. Did I already go by it? No, maybe it's on page 2.
I don't think you passed it yet. It's
right.
It's a little bit past.
Yeah.
Right?
There he is, right there. Q, Castle Clean, right?
Right.
So with this video we just played, it's 1856. If you're in East Coast time, because Trump is East, I'm East Coast time. So we always use East Coast time, no matter where you are. If you're in West Coast, you add 3 hours. If you're Central, you add an hour. So I don't have to add any hours. So it's 1656. Or 1856, excuse me. 1856 is this. How stupid are these people? Integrity violations? Integrity violations equal leaks. Recording a privileged and confidential meeting with the White House Chief of Staff? What documents were signed prior to entering the White House? What documents were added by POTUS prior to allowing staff to join his administration? What documents were added later by POTUS specifically targeting leaks? Why was fake news infuriated by this sample? And I just want to go down to the last one. They're all talking about the NDAs. Huh? So the NDAs is how our White House got clean, folks. So this is a doozy, right? So the Post columnist Ruth Marcus wrote she obtained a draft of the non-disclosure agreement calling it a doozy. I found that if violating the NDA, staffers would be penalized $10 million to be paid for the government. To the government, guys. That 10 million, so she wrote that the 10 million figure was likely a watered down in any final version because the people she spoke about the agreement didn't remember that jaw-dropping sum. The NDAs, a person who signed the document told the Post were meant to be very similar to the ones that some of us signed during the campaign and during the transition. I remember the president saying, has everybody signed a confidentiality agreement like they did during the campaign or we had at the Trump Tower? Now, think about the people not running for re-election.
Yeah.
You know, if I have an NDA at my company and I don't sign it, guess what?
What?
I basically am admitting that I'm leaving. Quitting.
Ah.
All right. So I think Castle Clean means this is done because Q is alluding to more than just, you know, people that entering the White House. And then they were added prior to allowing staff. So you got White House and staff. Now you got this. What documents were added later by POTUS targeting leaks, guys. That's why I'm not afraid of John Bolton.
That's right. And maybe just a little bit more to that. You think about all the people that have left, that have left the White House running their yapper, like say for instance, Omarosa.
Seb Gorka.
Seb Gorka. Okay,
Did I say that out loud? Sorry.
Maybe, just maybe, they are in agreement with their NDA and being told what to say for the show in public.
Actors.
Actors.
Prove me wrong.
And so the media, this is chum in the water for the media. You keep them digging over there while we're working out the knots from the tangled web over here.
Right. Wow. So would a person openly broadcast a criminal violation? Do they feel protected? Who do they report to? So Omarosa reports to the president, ultimately, right? So like you said, maybe she's doing that on purpose to troll the media.
Well, under penalty of $10 million for doing something that they're not supposed to do, you would almost think that would mean that, they're only doing what they're being told to say and write in the books what they're told to write. Like this whole thing with John Bolton set off a firestorm, and they, this interesting little part that was placed in there that the Vindman crew leaked to the press, could have been a trap for them the whole time.
Whistleblower traps, Mission 8.
Yes, sir. And Scaramucci, Linda says, exactly.
Yep.
Now he's gone way off the rail, though.
He has. He used to follow. He unfollowed me.
Oh.
Yeah, the mooch. Well, I thought that was interesting. When you go to look at timestamps, check out timestamps if you want to just get started in this stuff. Remember, it's East Coast time. Look at a Trump timestamp and just see military time. And then you can look both, too, because both sometimes are interesting, too. So check it out yourself, because when you start getting attacked by stuff, it makes me have to look into it more.
Well, we just dig a little deeper, don't we?
I'm just saying. Subscribe to LK Dark to Light now. Did the mods drop the link in there yet? I didn't see it, but they could have gone past me. Please put LK Dark to Light's YouTube channel in there. Oh, by the way, Shady, he's over 11,000 now.
Everybody, please subscribe.
Yep. And, make up your own mind. Okay. All right. Q alert. February 1st, 2020. This will be my thread for all Q posts for Friday, February 1st. 2020. Well done, Anons, and more. Let's go. Boom. Look at that picture. I love that picture.
That is a great picture, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
love that.
Such a stunning figure.
Dark delight. Just saying.
I'm not saying, but I'm saying.
What happened here? They're messing with threads on Twitter. ITM reached 37K. Finally, we got 300 more followers because we're so bad. This show sucks. Who would subscribe to this show?
I don't know.
God, I'm sorry, guys, that we suck
Probably
so bad.
deplorables.
We are the deplorables, and we love the name. Right? Guys, please help us. Help you. We got 1,099 people watching right now. Thank you very, very much. Wow. Please share this show if you can. I appreciate it.
Welcome to Matrixx.
Welcome to the In the Matrix channel. Shady Groove in the house. All right, so we got 3819, Shady. We got Miami Herald News. It's about it's a government section article. It says read 1, read 2. 55, welcome to the D party. Well done, Anons. Q. All right, so let's go read. Let's go see.
See what we got.
Go ahead, Shady.
I'm not afraid of you. Debbie Powell embraces Trump impeachment role. Who are you not afraid of?
Sorry, guys. I'm just getting this thing out of here.
There you go.
There we go.
There we go. So, did this have a video? I can't remember. Okay, yeah.
It's too long, but I think it's just read. What happens? Yep.
In the midst of a riff on trade policy during a campaign rally in Sunrise last week, President Donald Trump name-checked Representative Debbie Powell, a Miami Democrat who will have to have a say in this week's impeachment hearings as the probe shifts to the House Judiciary Committee. Yet, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats, they just have done nothing, Trump said to his supporters. They're doing nothing, folks. They're doing nothing. It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing. So Congresswoman Matrixxx Powell, where is she? Is she here? I'd love to see her. And Congressman Donna Shalala. Matrixxx Powell responded via video by noting her work on impeachment, which for months was a political third rail for many Democrats in competitive districts like her Miami to Key West seat that has frequently changed party hands in the last decade. That's good stuff.
Hey, President Trump. It's Congresswoman Debbie Matrixxx Powell, and I'm right here, she said. in the video posted to her Twitter account. You can find me next week in the Judiciary Committee, where I'll be working to protect our country and the American people from your attacks on your democracy, because, unlike my Republican colleagues in Washington, I'm not afraid of you. Let's go check it out. Here's her Twitter account.
Democrats, they just have done nothing. They're doing nothing, folks. They're doing nothing. So, Congresswoman Matrixxx Powell, where is she? Is she here? I'd love to see her.
Hey, President Trump. It's Congresswoman Debbie Matrixxx Powell, and I'm right here.
Look at her.
And next time you want to talk about the bills that we've already passed to lower prescription drug prices, protect our communities from gun violence, or even prevent vaping deaths, please give me a call. Or you can find me next week in the Judiciary Committee, where I'm going to be working to protect our country and the American people from your attacks on our democracy. Because unlike my Republican colleagues in Washington, I'm not afraid of you. But if you're going to attack me, please, at least say my name correctly. It's Congresswoman Debbie Matrixxx Powell.
Good, I said it wrong. Matrixxx. There you go, Shady. There she is. Wow, huh?
Oh, she's not she's not afraid, is she?
No.
Ah.
No, no, no!
I like when he calls them straight out.
I like it too. All right, so here's another one. Congress candidate's husband has filed ties to scandal-plagued Ukrainian oligarch. You don't say. No. Let's say his name right. Republican Carlos Cubero. This November has financial ties to an Eastern propaganda oligarch. See, this is not. So this is the husband of a Miami Democrat hoping to unseat Rep. Carlos Cubero. So he's good, right? I guess, right? Oh no, he has ties, because we do know that both of them are. It's not Republican and Democrat, guys. So the husband of
U.S. Rep.
Yeah,
He's a Democrat too, I think.
he
Oh
is.
yeah, Miami Democrat hoping to unseat. Oh no, yeah, okay. Now I'm seeing. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. I apologize.
I am too. I think I'm fighting like some sort of issue going on here. My voice is a little scratchy. All right, the public records show that Debbie Matrixxx Powell's husband, Robert Powell, spent much of the last 10 years as general counsel for companies that owned at least part of the Igor Kolominsky, a wealthy Ukrainian business.
I bet he would want that prosecutor fired too, like Mr. Kerry would that we heard earlier.
Wow. So she's gonna impeach the president so he doesn't find her crimes.
That's correct.
Oh.
And I think that there is so much Ukraine that it's falling out of their pockets as they walk down the street, pretty much every one of them. Ukraine. Because they, that is the most recent hellhole that was created by our deep state for money laundering and foreign aid laundering and weapons, cash movements, and human trafficking and all kinds of stuff that they're operating out of Ukraine. And remember, a lot of people don't remember this. Kiev is only about 50 miles south of Chernobyl.
Wow. That's a nice vacation area, isn't it, Chernobyl?
It's a nice vacation area. Like, who the hell wants to go there? I'm sorry.
Don't they have like these really unique radiation tanning beds, or no? I heard something
yes,
about.
they do. You could actually go into Chernobyl for $8.99 a day.
Well done, Anons, for finding those articles. Interesting, guys. I mean, this is what we're saying. And then you saw the video of Kerry saying the whole administration. I mean, these guys should be done, guys.
He said we all did it. We were all complacent. We all wanted the prosecutor fired. One thing I was thinking about, Shokin, the one fellow has been with Rudy Giuliani on his podcast lately, and man, that guy is dropping some bombs of information to show why they were trying to get rid of him.
Right.
Like, okay, well, the IMF, because they keep saying the IMF wanted him gone, the world organizations wanted him gone, all these other, because the guy was investigating all their corruption, and they weren't just stealing like government money in Ukraine, everyone. They were stealing the people's money out of the banks in Ukraine. That's a big difference. A lot of the money that came back to these politicians actually came out of people's pockets in Ukraine. So imagine the frustration that those folks are going through with seeing it play out in our politics.
And Hurricane Ann just made up a new song. Ukraine in the dem brain. Ukraine in the brain. Right?
Nice.
There's a new one. You gotta go. Right? Isn't that good? You like it? 5-5. Press 17 if you like that song, guys. All right, here we go. So you haven't figured it out yet. It's not about Trump's corruption. It's about making sure you don't find out about their corruption. That's it right there, guys. Look at these people.
We have nothing to hide except everything you're looking for.
Okay, they like my song, Shady.
Great.
Well, that's written by Hurricane Ann, though, just so you know. All right,
but you performed it.
Right, I'm the performer.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm the performer. All right, so this is Adam Schiff. Ukraine connections come under scrutiny. Say it isn't so, Shady.
Shifty Schiff Schiff's hypocrisy precedes him.
Shifty Schiff.
Shifty Schiff.
All right, so look at that. The House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Shifty Schiff, pencil neck Schiff,
9-inch neck,
who has played a leading role in the investigation, the Trump-Ukraine scandal. Ukraine in the dem brain. Love me some Matrixxx in my shady groove. Thank you, Hurricane Ann. I love you too. So there you go. I mean, they're basically protecting their crimes, guys. I mean, we know this up and down. How many more? Who's Q? Well, you know, this information is on the internet. It's on the interwebs, and we're just putting it all together. So why don't they, help us argue with this information, guys? Q's alarm. Okay, so what about this? What about this right here? What about this right here?
Well, isn't it funny how Q is telling us the same thing that the truth is telling us?
Right.
So Q is telling us that there's massive Ukrainian foreign aid corruption, and the president is saying, Mr. Zelensky, are you really working on the corruption over there? And Zelensky says, yes, we're working on the corruption. So he said, okay, well, here's your money. And the Dems are like, wait a minute. If you give Zelensky the money, then he's going to actually use it for Ukraine. Where's our pie?
I know, right? Paul Nelson said 17 he was driving just for a while ago. Thanks, Paul. Shady, why is this like the #1 song on the internet right now?
I don't know.
Do you know what song? Everybody's asking for this song.
Prove me wrong.
Prove me wrong. Hello, guys. There's something big happening in here, right? Brackets and jackets. It's Shady and Matrixxx. We're bringing it back with Shady and Matrixxx. Right? So let's talk about Ukraine.
If you's not real, we got a very
Is Schiff Ukraine? Is Pelosi Ukraine?
Ukraine.
Is John Kerry Ukraine? Oh yeah, John Kerry's Ukraine too. Prove me wrong.
What about Romney? Is the Pelosi there?
Pelosi, prove me wrong, Shady.
Prove me wrong.
So why can't they prove us wrong, guys?
They only want to say it's not real, but that's all they can say.
That's
the
right.
president's no good. He's going to be gone. Q's not real. There's no truth to it. And quit spreading the message on Twitter, you little whippersnappers. You.
And you guys in chat right now are just Russian bots.
I'll tell you.
You're not real.
We have the best Russian bot audience on planet Earth right here today.
The most red-pilled Russian bots on YouTube. Thank you,
We
guys.
work tirelessly behind the scenes programming these bots to comment very nice things to us.
1985 BTFF says beep boop. Yeah. Bots here, says Vernon.
Hashtag 93PO.
Pass the vodka, says Poussant.
Whatever bots in the house.
Bots love vodka.
The new members have been playing with some of the bots over there on the Discord.
Trust the plan, says Dutch Granny. Yeah, man, this is awesome, guys. All right, so let's go back to. Let me just drop this down. All right, so guess who was the 17th director of the NSA, Shady?
Admiral Rogers.
There you go. Pentagon and intelligence community chiefs have urged Obama to remove the head of the NSA. I wonder why. Is that because he helped Donald Trump to tell them that Obama was spying on him, Shady, maybe?
Got them out of Trump Tower and up to Bedminster in a much safer location.
Yep, at his golf course.
Yep, and that's where they ran the campaign from. And notice the way that what was it, almost a year the president before the White House had been properly remodeled, because they pretty much had to remove every board to find all the devices in there.
Yep. Amazing.
No, nothing's happened.
Gotta fire him. All right, Shady, this is Durham and Rogers meeting. Prove me wrong. Proofs are important. Boom. So basically we have Q post 3389, Shady. It says AG and Rogers meeting. Durham and Rogers meetings. Ho, 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 ho. Why did Rogers retire? Why did Rogers visit POTUS at Trump Tower without authorization from butthurt Obama? Oh, wait. Shortly after a skiff was installed. Why did select former ABC directors call for the removal of Rogers? Why did POTUS move his transition command center, base of ops, from Trump Tower the very next day? Q. You go to the Intercept right here. December 29th, 2019. This was July 9th, 2019 from Q Post. This is 6 months later, essentially, right? Rogers has met with the prosecutors leading the probe, Connecticut U.S. Attorney John Durhamboat Durham, on multiple occasions. Shady.
I'm imagining he had some interesting things to explain to Mr. Durham about what it was that he found.
Guess who else could help? And guess who put Rogers where he is today?
General Michael Flynn.
Yep. This guy.
And to hear Admiral Rogers speak about him is there's a special relationship there between those two. They have a massive respect for one another.
Awesome. That is awesome, guys. So that's it, guys. And yes, it was Sunday. I guess I had the date wrong. Oh, I tell you, it's so busy. Busy, guys. But that's the way we like it. So let's go to the next Shady. Wait, where we got? Here we go. So this was the Q alert for 2/3/20. This will be my thread for all Q posts for Monday, yesterday, February 3rd, right? 2020. Who are the real racists? And more. Let's go. Look at that, guys. Are you awake? Are you 1,113 people watching right now? Are you guys awake? If you're awake.
They are more than 1,024th awake.
Press 17 if you're awake. Let me get over there. Let me get over there, guys. I need a 17. I'm awake. And learning every day, guys. I don't know it all. Right?
No, but what we do know is that there's more to know.
Absolutely. So, you have to open your eyes. You have to open your eyes to see the truth. Who are the real racists? Look at our president. Wasn't a racist until he ran for president. And as a Republican, and won, guys. Look at him there. Jesse Jackson, Sharpton.
So, that meme, it's true. He wasn't a racist until he won.
That's right.
Wait a minute. What do we got there?
Oh, we're going to watch these.
Oh, we got special performance.
Oh.
We have 2 special performances.
We have 2 special performances. All right, here's the one.
Out in a minute, but I was because you're all going to stand up. We're going to have some important people coming out in a minute, but there's one more band member that I want you to meet. Ladies and gentlemen, our vocals tonight, Michael Jackson. Michael, would you please stand?
Blackface.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Soon to become Prince, as I was just pointed out to me. Ladies and gentlemen, my job is...
Look at that guy's funny, huh?
So please...
Yeah.
So funny.
Real funny.
Yeah. Just hilarious.
Yeah. At a Democrat congressional dinner, guys.
Yeah. Yep. And
is that a Republican dinner, Shady?
No, it was not a Republican dinner where they were making fun of someone in blackface.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, let's watch this.
How many videos and stuff we find of, them in blackface.
Divine, I'm not exactly sure who was the blackface person. It stopped right there, and I don't know who it was. Sorry, I wish I did.
Was it Ted Danson that time?
Not that time. All right, let's listen to this.
Created by cable.
The 4th challenge is to take back our streets from crime, gangs, and drugs. And we have actually been making progress on this count as a nation because of what local law enforcement officials are doing, because of what citizens and neighborhood patrols are doing. We're making some progress. Much of it is related to the initiative called community policing, because we have finally gotten more police officers on the street. That was one of the goals that the president had when he pushed the crime bill that was passed in 1994. He promised 100,000 police. We're moving in that direction, but we can see it already makes a difference. Because if we have more police interacting with people, having them on the streets, we can prevent crimes. We can prevent petty crimes from turning into something worse. But we also have to have an organized effort against gangs. Just as in a previous generation we had an organized effort against the mob. We need to take these people on. They are often connected to big drug cartels. They are not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel. And the president has asked the FBI to launch a very concerted effort against gangs everywhere. In addition to that, he has appointed a new drug czar. You probably saw him Tuesday night. He's one of the most distinguished active military generals that we have in our country. He's already proven that he knows how to interdict drugs because of his command of the South American activity on behalf of the United States. But General McCaffrey will make a big difference, and I believe it is now time for all of us to know what we can do individually to be part of this anti-crime, anti-gangs, anti-drug effort. The fifth challenge is to protect the environment.
Blech. Heel, Shady.
So doesn't she say a lot there? Not just about the super predators and not just about bringing them to heel, but notice how she makes the reference to the mob. Notice how she says we have to bring them in. We have to bring them on. We have to bring them on board to the program. We have to find these people that have no souls and these people that are mindlessly violent so that we can utilize them. And then we have to put our general in charge of them so that we can make sure that the stuff that we're bringing in from South America and overseas for the drug trade properly gets into your communities, and we properly handle the people that are in charge of distribution and make sure that we have brought them to heel. This is the mid-90s, and this marks a cornerstone into the problem that we have in America today with no communication, drugs in the inner city, and the pipelines that the president is currently disassembling that are lots of them underground, everyone. A lot of people don't realize that this stuff moves underground. These kids and whatever they're trafficking that's moving underground. This was the predicate for that. And they also they also destroyed your music right there from then. They controlled all the music. Everything shifted to a disrespectful type of music, which was not at all what I would consider uplifting or
Hey, real quick, guys, let's stop talking about bullets and shooting people. We can't. I mean, as much as I love bullets and all that, just be careful, okay? YouTube doesn't like us. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I agree with that. But I just want you guys to understand that this was a time in our history that we have to, that we're it seems to me we're going back to this era where they came into power. And we kind of got way off course from where I thought we were going in the early mid 90s. Could you imagine in like say 92, 93 Matrixxx, us being in a war?
Yeah.
You know, like there was no perception that we could be in a war, like or sending troops somewhere. Like everybody that was signing up for the National Guard and stuff, did you sign up for the National Guard thinking you were going to Iraq? You know, I mean, so many things changed under this regime that is, you know, still fighting like tooth and nail with the Romneys and the Bidens and the Kerrys and the you name it, Obamas. They're all fighting tooth and nail to prevent you from seeing their corruption.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's real quick, Shady, Ted Cruz. Let's listen to him real quick.
That the House managers
on the floor live right now, Shady.
One, they allege that the president wrongfully delayed aid to Ukraine. And two, they allege that the president wrongfully asked for an investigation into a political rival. Both of those are legitimate ends. Let me address them one at a time because there is a deep irony in the argument of the House managers. Both of those objectives are consistent with law, are permissible and legal, and both of those objectives have been done by any measure substantially worse by the preceding administration, by the Obama administration. Let's take delaying aid to Ukraine. Madam President, I am a big believer in America standing with Ukraine. Indeed, I traveled with Ukraine. I went to the Maidan Square and stood with protesters who had been shot down by their government as the protesters stood for freedom. I believe military aid to Ukraine is a good thing, and it is true that the Trump administration temporarily delayed aid to Ukraine. That is their right to do so. Presidents have delayed foreign aid before. The Trump administration has done so with regard to a number of countries. The Obama administration did so before that. Previous administrations have done so. But we heard hour upon hour of the House managers trying to establish the proposition that aid to Ukraine was delayed when President Trump admits aid to Ukraine was delayed. There's no dispute about it. And we heard testimony about how Ukrainians died because aid was delayed. Here's the irony, Madam President. If you support aid to Ukraine, as I do, military aid to Ukraine as they stand up to Russia, there is no dispute whatsoever that for the entirety of his presidency, President Obama refused to give lethal military aid, defensive aid to Ukraine. Despite the fact that I and many other members of this body called on President Obama to give aid to Ukraine. Madam President, I remember when we all went to the floor of the House of Representatives to hear a speech to a joint session of Congress from President Poroshenko, then the president of Ukraine, where the president of Ukraine called out the Obama administration because they were sending blankets and MREs, meals. And President Poroshenko rightly said, you can't fight a Russian tank with a blanket. So if the House managers are right that there's something improper about delaying military aid, the Obama administration did so for the entirety of the administration. And what did President Trump do? He did something Obama never did. He provided lethal, defensive military aid, Javelin missiles that can take out Russian tanks. The first ground they allege of delaying aid is legal and permissible, and by any measure, the Trump administration's record on it is much, much better than the Obama administration's. How about the second ground? Directing an investigation into your political rival. Madam President, the most important legal question in this proceeding, the question that resolves this proceeding, is does a president have the constitutional authority to investigate credible allegations of corruption? The House managers built their case on the proposition that seeking an investigation into Burisma, the corrupt Ukrainian natural gas company, and Joe Biden and Hunter Biden seeking any investigation into whether there was corruption there was, in the words of the House managers, baseless, a sham, and utterly without merit. In their opening arguments, the House managers spent over 2 hours trying to make that case. And Madam President, I will say on the face of it, that proposition is objectively absurd. And the White House legal defense team laid out in considerable detail that there was very substantial evidence of corruption. Burisma is a company that was built on corruption. The oligarch who started Burisma, Mr. Zlochevsky, was the sitting energy minister in Ukraine, and he amassed his billions by, as the sitting energy minister, giving gas licenses to his own company that he was heading. That's where Burisma made their money. It was a company built on corruption from day one. Now, I think it's worth pausing and examining the timeline of what occurred, because remember, the House manager's case is it's baseless and a sham to even investigate corruption. In early 2014, Vice President Joe Biden was named the point person for the Obama administration on Ukraine. On April 13th of 2014, Devin Archer, business partners with Hunter Biden, the son of Joe Biden.
Madam President is
Joined the board of Burisma
in the
began
Senate.
being
Whoever
paid
is the presiding
$1 million
officer
a year.
is named Madam
April
or
28th,
Mr. President.
Britain's Security Fraud Bureau freezes $23 million in accounts controlled by Zlochevsky, the oligarch who owned Burisma. And then, just 2 weeks later, on May 12th, Hunter Biden, the son of Joe Biden, is named to the board and paid $1 million a year, despite having no background in oil and gas and no discernible background in Ukraine. Hunter Biden gets paid $1 million a year, and Joe Biden actively, aggressively, vigorously leads the Obama administration's policies on Ukraine. Now, the House managers were asked in questioning, what exactly did Hunter Biden do for his $1 million a year? They refused to answer that. That is a perfectly reasonable question to ask if you're investigating corruption. Joe Biden is seen on video, not just admitting, but bragging that he told the president of Ukraine he would personally block $1 billion in foreign aid loan guarantees unless Ukraine fired the prosecutor that was investigating Burisma, the company paying his son $1 million a year. And as Joe Biden bragged on that video, well, son of a bitch, they fired him. Now that on its face raises significant issues of potential corruption. We don't know for sure if there was in fact corruption, but when President Trump asked that it be investigated to get to the bottom of what happened, the president has the authority to investigate corruption, and there was more than sufficient basis to do so. And of course, the House managers are right that it is somehow illegitimate, it is somehow inappropriate, it is in fact impeachable to seek the investigation of your political rival. We know for a fact that the Obama administration not only sought the investigation, but aggressively led an investigation marred by abuse of power going after then-candidate Trump, including wiretaps, including fraudulently obtained court documents, court warrants from the FISA court. Madam President, impeachment is an extraordinary remedy. It's not designed for when you disagree. It's not designed for when you have political differences or policy differences. It's designed for when a president crosses the constitutional threshold. You know, on February 6, 1974, the Democratic Judiciary Committee Chairman, Peter Rodino, Democrat from New Jersey, who led the impeachment inquiry into Richard Nixon, told his colleagues, quote, "Whatever the result, whatever we learn or conclude, let us now proceed with such care and decency and thoroughness and honor that the vast majority of the American people and their children after them will say, this was the right course. There was no other way." That was the standard that led to an overwhelming bipartisan vote.
I'm sorry, guys. Fox isn't even showing this right now, folks. Are you kidding me?
That standard was not remotely followed by the House managers. This was a partisan impeachment, and we are right now in an election year. The voters are voting, and it is up to the voters to decide which policies they want to continue. The House managers have abused the constitutional process by trying to use impeachment to settle a partisan score. That is divisive to the country, and I'm proud that this body will vote, I hope in a bipartisan way, to reject these articles of impeachment, to acquit the president, and to find President Trump not guilty of the articles the House has sent over. I yield the floor.
Madam President.
Senator from Louisiana.
Thank you, Madam President. I will vote against each of the House Democrats' articles of impeachment, and I would like to explain why. The House Democrats' impeachment proceedings and their articles of impeachment were and are fatally flawed. My friends, the House Democrats say that the president is out of control. What they really mean is that the president is out of their control. and that is not grounds for impeachment. First, the process. The House Democrats' impeachment proceedings were rigged. Speaker Pelosi and the House Democratic leadership decided before they even began to give President Trump a fair and impartial firing squad. Speaker Pelosi's and the House Democrats' judicial philosophy from the very beginning was guilty. That's why much of the proceedings was held in secret. Democracy, they say, dies in darkness, and I believe it. That's why the House Democrats hid the identity of the original accuser, the so-called whistleblower, thus prohibiting the American people from being able to judge the accuser's motives. And that's also why, Madam President, the House Democrats prevented the President and his counsel from cross-examining the House Democrats' witnesses, from offering his own witnesses, from offering rebuttal evidence, and even from being able to challenge the House Democrats' evidence. The House Democrats wouldn't even allow the President or his counsel to attend critical parts of the impeachment proceedings. The United States Senate cannot and should not consider an impeachment based on such a deficient record. It is true that in America, no one is above the law, but no one is beneath it either. And fairness matters in our country. The House Democrats' impeachment is also flawed because it is a partisan impeachment. Its genesis is partisan rage. Not a single solitary House Republican voted for the articles of impeachment. Not one. The House Democrats made a conscious decision to turn impeachment into a routine Washington, D.C. political weapon, to normalize it. Our country's founders were concerned about impeachments based on partisan rage, and our country's founders were adamantly opposed. That's why in the Constitution they required a 2/3 vote by the Senate to impeach. Now a word about the substance of the House Democrats' articles of impeachment. The House Democrats accused the President of obstruction of justice. Why? Because he chose to assert executive privilege and testimonial immunity when the House Democrats sought testimony and documents from some of the President's closest aides. Anyone who knows a law book from a J. Crew catalog does not take this charge seriously. Executive privilege and testimonial immunity are well-established, constitutionally based presidential and executive branch privileges that every president at one time or another has asserted. The proper course by the House Democrats in the face of the assertion of these privileges was to seek judicial review. Go see a judge to seek judicial review from our third branch of government. which then would have balanced the policies underlining the privileges against the public interest of overriding the privileges. But the House Democrats chose not to do that. They cannot now complain. The House Democrats also accused President Trump of abuse of power. And if you listen carefully to their allegations, you'll see that they don't really argue that the President of the United States did not and does not have the inherent authority to pause United States foreign aid to Ukraine until Ukraine agreed to investigate corruption. That's clearly within the authority of the President of the United States. Instead, the House Democrats, claiming to be able to read the President's mind, say that the President did it with a corrupt motive because the investigation of corruption was against former President Joe Biden, a political rival. But the President didn't get Joe Biden's name out of a phone book. Why did the President ask for an investigation involving former Vice President Biden? 4 words: Hunter Biden and Burisma. Now, Madam President, these are the facts. President Obama put Vice President Biden in charge of the foreign affairs of our country for 2 other countries, Ukraine and China. And in both instances, the former vice president's son, Hunter Biden, promptly walked away with millions of dollars in contracts from politically connected companies in those 2 countries, including Burisma Holdings. The message that this behavior sent to the world was that America's foreign policy can be bought like a sack of potatoes. No fair-minded person can argue that an investigation of this possible corruption was not in the national interest. Madam President, the House Democrats' impeachment proceedings and their articles of impeachment are an example of swamped-up Washington, D.C., both procedurally and substantively. On the basis of partisan rage coursing through their veins, the House Democrats seek to annul the 134 million Americans who voted in the 2016 presidential election, which resulted in the Trump presidency, and to do so when a new presidential election is just 10 months away. No one in the Milky Way who is fair-minded can believe this is good for America. A nation as great as ours deserves better. So to my Democratic friends, here's what I say. The 2016 presidential election is over. Let it go. Put aside your partisan rage. Stop regretting yesterday. And instead, let's try working together and creating tomorrow. Because after all, the future is just a bunch of things we do right now strung together. Madam President, I suggest the absence of a quorum.
Will the senator withhold his request?
I beg your pardon, Madam
Will the
President?
senator withhold his request for a quorum call?
I will. And I will.
Madam President.
Senator from Georgia.
Thank you, Madam President. In Federalist Paper 65, which we have heard referred to quite a bit in the last 2 weeks, Alexander Hamilton warned, the impeachment process should never be used as a partisan political weapon. He said that impeachment can, and I quote, connect itself with the pre-existing factions and list all their animosities, partialities, influences, and interests on one side or the other. In such cases, there will always be the greatest danger that the decision will be regulated more by the comparative strength of the parties than by the real demonstrations of innocence or guilt. Today, unfortunately, over 2 centuries later, Hamilton's fears have become reality. This current impeachment process has never been about the truth, justice, or the rule of law. For my colleagues across the aisle, this is only about overturning the 2016 election, impacting the 2020 election, and gaining the Senate majority. From the start, this House process has been totally illegitimate. The articles of impeachment that the House of Representatives presented to us last month were nothing more than the fruit of a poison tree. In America, we believe in the rule of law. In America, we believe in due process. In America, we believe anyone has a right to a fair trial. In America, we believe anyone is innocent until proven guilty. However, House Democrats violated each of these foundational precepts in using the impeachment process as a partisan political weapon. Throughout the course of the House impeachment investigation, Democrats repeatedly denied President Trump due process and the fundamental rights of the accused in America. Simply put, what they did was not fair. They denied him the right to have counsel, the right to have witnesses, the right to cross-examine their witnesses, the right to see the evidence, and lastly, the right to face his accuser. Contrast that with the last 2 presidents to face impeachment. The grand jury investigation of Clinton and the Watergate investigation of Nixon were conducted in a fair manner with rights for the accused. No action was taken by the House of Representatives until the facts were clear and indisputable in both those trials. When these investigations were complete and those 2 presidents were found to have committed a crime, impeachment had bipartisan support, unlike this time. This investigation is entirely different. It was rushed and was totally partisan, with not one single House Republican voting for these 2 pitiful articles of impeachment. The impeachment trial in the Senate has been going on for the past 11 days. Unlike in the House, the Senate upheld its constitutional duty to conduct a fair trial. The Democratic House managers had the opportunity to present their case. Then, for the first time in this sad affair, the president and his team, his lawyers, had an opportunity to present their case, their defense. Neither Article 1, abuse of power, nor Article 2, obstruction of Congress, qualify as constitutional reasons for impeachment. It's pretty simple. I'm not a lawyer, but if you look at the facts, it's very direct. The Constitution clearly lays out 4 explicit reasons for impeaching a president. Even corruption does not qualify under these definitions. It's very clear. They itemized treason, bribery, high crimes, and misdemeanors. And they explained to us in the hearings, another translation in modern terms, using the Old English for misdemeanors, is crimes. It's another word for crime. The charges against President Trump don't come close to any of these specified requirements. It's as simple as that. The House really was beginning to make up new constitutional law. Each of the other 3 presidents that has faced impeachment was charged with committing a crime. President Trump is the first president ever to face impeachment that was never accused of any crime in these proceedings whatsoever. These two articles of impeachment simply do not qualify as reasons to impeach any president. Further, Democratic House managers did not prove their case for either of the two articles of impeachment. The entire case for abuse of power is centered around the June 25, 2019 phone call between President Trump and President Zelensky of Ukraine. The Democrats allege President Trump only asked for help in investigating the Burisma situation for political gain. It's clear now, after hearing all the testimony, that the primary motivation to ask Zelensky to look into the Biden-Burisma corruption issue was to root out corruption in the Ukraine. Ukraine has had a long history of corruption, and this president was well within his rights to ask for help in rooting out this fairly obvious example of corruption. Democrats completely failed to prove the president's request was for political gain only. Regarding the obstruction of Congress article, every president has the right to exert executive privilege to protect our national interest and the separation of powers. Honestly, this article should have never been received in the Senate in the first place. We should have dismissed this article out of hand. It simply is absurd. Arguing that President Trump obstructed Congress by claiming his rights is unacceptable and would fundamentally weaken this right for future presidents. When President Trump exerted executive privilege, his right under the Constitution, Democrats could simply have pursued the subpoenas. That's the way the founders laid it out. They could have pursued the subpoenas in court. For some reason, the House Democrats chose not to do that. House Democrats were in such a rush that they sent the Senate an incomplete case. That's why I believe the Senate should not have accepted them in the first place, because the process was illegitimate, inappropriate, and incomplete. Bottom line, House Democrats simply did not do their job. In the Clinton investigation, the House investigated for over 400 days before they brought articles of impeachment. There was a conviction. In this case, barely 100. The Democratic House managers brought the articles of impeachment and claimed they had overwhelming proof. Immediately, in their opening statement, they had overwhelming proof. However, right away, even with that, they immediately demanded the Senate call witnesses that the House had already chosen not to call, like John Bolton. They could have easily called him, but chose not to, claiming it would take too long. Instead, they demanded that the Senate call additional witnesses that were not included in the House investigation. The Constitution requires that the House conduct the investigation, including calling witnesses, taking depositions, collecting evidence, and the Senate is charged to rule based on the evidence the House provides. This was designed this way for a very specific reason, very practical reason. In the House, committees can investigate these charges while the rest of the House continues to do their legislative work. Unfortunately, in the Senate, when articles of impeachment are brought and sent to the Senate, by constitutional law, must stop what it's doing, must open an impeachment hearing. And while in a formal impeachment hearing, the Senate cannot do anything else by law. It goes into legislative shutdown by law. In this case, if we were to call additional witnesses, then we would be setting a dangerous precedent for every future case. The House could theoretically make up any flimsy charge they wanted with no investigation, no witnesses, no testimony, no evidence whatsoever, and then send the articles to the Senate and expect the Senate to do their job. That's not what the founders wrote. That's not what they had in mind. It would open up a Pandora's box, shut the Senate down indefinitely, and you can see why the founders did not want to go down that road. That's not how they built this process. For the sake of our very system of government, we cannot yield to this unconstitutional effort. The House actually did call 17 witnesses. They sent over 193 videos, 28,000 pages of documents. Ultimately, a majority in this body concluded it was unnecessary to hear from any of those witnesses. Again, on top of that, the impeachment rules do not require the Senate to call witnesses. That's the House job. It's just that simple. Let's be very clear. This entire impeachment process has been a purely partisan political stunt perpetrated by House Democrats. It truly is an embarrassment, and exactly what Alexander Hamilton warned us all against. It's no secret. Democrats have been trying to obstruct this president from day one. On the day President Trump was inaugurated, the headline of the Washington Post right here in town claimed that the campaign to impeach this president has already begun. House Democrat manager Adam Schiff, in his opening remarks, said, "You can't trust elections. That's why we have impeachment." Really? Really? That's absurd. The president has done nothing to warrant this impeachment process. He must be acquitted. If we let House Democrats get away with this today, we're setting a dangerous precedent for the future. Already, we're in an era of impeachment. In the first 180 years, we only had one impeachment case that came to the Senate and investigated in the House. In the last 45 years, we've had 3 investigated in the House, and 2 have actually made it to the Senate. If we let Democrats improperly use the impeachment process as a partisan political weapon, then it will only get worse in the future. I call on my colleagues today, I plead with my colleagues today to reject this unconstitutional effort and vote to acquit Donald J. Trump of these illegitimate and unconstitutional articles of impeachment. With that, Madam President, I yield the floor.
Madam President.
Senator from Montana.
Madam President, I rise today in the very chamber where just 3 presidential impeachment trials have been held over the course of our nation's history. President Johnson in 1868, President Clinton in 1999, and now President Trump. In fact, I sat at this desk the past 2 weeks, listening to over 65 hours of trial proceedings. And during that time, we heard from 13 witnesses. We viewed 193 video clips, 28,000 pages plus of documentation, and senators over that 16-hour period asked over 180 questions. In the Senate, we took our solemn duty very seriously. And if there's one thing to be remembered from this trial for generations to come, it is this. Sadly, over the course of our country's 244-year history, never has our nation faced such a partisan abuse of power. Never has the Senate been faced with articles of impeachment that allege no crimes in an attempt to remove a duly elected president of the United States from office. Never before have we seen such a partisan presidential impeachment process. In 1974, when President Nixon faced impeachment, Nixon, a Republican, 177 House Republicans joined Democrats in support of the impeachment inquiry. During President Clinton's impeachment, a Democrat, 31 Democrats joined House Republicans. But with President Trump, there were 0. Not one Republican supported it. In fact, there were some Democrats that opposed it. So to be clear, there was actually bipartisan opposition. This impeachment is an unprecedented, purely partisan threat to the Constitution. Our founding fathers, the framers of our great Constitution, they understood what the power of impeachment meant when they gave it to Congress after great deliberation. Alexander Hamilton and James Madison feared the congressional abuse of power and legislative tyranny as they debated whether to include the power of impeachment in the Constitution. Because the founders knew the removal of a president from office amounted to a political death sentence. In Federalist 65, Hamilton warns the House could be intemperate, was the word he used, and abuse their majority. He proclaimed then the United States Senate would be and I used his words, unawed and uninfluenced, the independent institution to determine whether a House impeachment was warranted. the founders had the wisdom to establish a 2/3 Senate vote threshold to help ensure that removal could not be achieved by mere partisan politics. The founders established that the thermonuclear option of impeachment must be bipartisan to safeguard not just the president from unwarranted removal, but importantly, to protect the will of the American people who elected the president in the first place. Unfortunately, Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, House Democrats have done exactly what the Founding Fathers feared. They've ignored what House Manager and the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Jerry Nadler, himself correctly observed during the 1998 Clinton impeachment when he stated, and I quote, "There must never be a narrowly voted impeachment or an impeachment substantially supported by one of our major political parties and largely opposed by the other. Such an impeachment would lack legitimacy." That was Jerry Nadler in 1998. Unfortunately, Nancy Pelosi's House of Representatives discarded Nadler's very wise words, and they stubbornly defied historical precedent by rushing these articles of impeachment, driven by a Christmas deadline, on a purely partisan vote and sending it to the United States Senate. The Democrats' decision was a mistake, and it's only further divided our nation during a time when we need to be working together. It was wrong, and it's damaged our country. We now need to fear for future presidents, Democrats or Republicans, who will hold the oath of office in this newly hyper-partisan era. And importantly, for the first time in our nation's history, the articles of presidential impeachment passed by Nancy Pelosi's House accuse President Trump of no crimes, let alone demonstrate that the president's actions warranted removal from office. This partisan and weak case from the House managers proves what this impeachment has always been about. It's about pure partisan politics. This impeachment has been nothing more than an attempt to overturn the 2016 presidential election and to severely impact the 2020 election. By the way, if we were to convict the president of either one of these articles, one or both, he literally is removed not only from office, but from the 2020 ballot. And speaking of the 2020 ballot, the 2020 election is already underway. Just yesterday, Americans cast their votes in Iowa for President of the United States. In fact, last Friday, Montanans submitted signatures and filed the paperwork to place President Trump on the Montana ballot for the 2020 election. And sadly, it's no surprise that we're in this situation today. You see, the Democrats have been obsessed with impeaching President Trump before he was even sworn in office. They could not accept the fact that Donald Trump won the 2016 election. On December 15th, 2016, just 5 weeks following the 2016 presidential election, there was a headline from Vanity Fair, and I quote it, "Democrats are paving the way to impeach Donald Trump." On January 20th, now when I think of January 20th, 2017, I think about the day the president was inaugurated, which it was. The Washington Post headline read, and I quote, "The campaign to impeach President Trump has begun." This article was posted 19 minutes, just 19 minutes after President Trump was sworn in office. And it gets worse. 10 days later, on January 30th, 2017, the attorney for the whistleblower that was talked about during the trial, the whistleblower's attorney, 10 days after President Trump was inaugurated back in 2017, he said this in a tweet, and I quote, "Coup has started. First of many steps. Rebellion. Impeachment will follow immediately. That was the attorney for the whistleblower that really started this entire impeachment process. We've even seen some House Democrats publicly state that the only way to beat President Trump in the next election is to impeach him. Our founding fathers would be grieved by the careless use of this most powerful tool against. It doesn't come from 100 senators in this body or a handful of lawmakers. Our power is derived from the people whom we serve. This grand American experiment of our democratic republic is built upon the idea of a government of, by, and for the people. Montanans elected me to represent them in the United States Senate, to be their voice on this floor and in Washington, D.C. Montanans overwhelmingly oppose this impeachment. Montanans stand with President Trump. In fact, President Trump won Montana by over 20 points in the 2016 election. And supporting this impeachment means ignoring the voices of Montanans who voted for President Trump in the last election. And it means silencing Montanans who plan to vote for President Trump in the 2020 election. Keep in mind, never before has the United States Senate ever removed a president from office. And it's not going to happen now. I am voting to acquit President Donald J. Trump. For the good of our country, let it be seared in our minds forevermore. Impeachment must never, ever again be used as a partisan weapon. I encourage my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to fully understand the magnitude of what this would mean for our country. This is the first purely partisan impeachment in our nation's history, and it must be our last. It should be up to the American people to decide who their next president is, not the United States Senate. The answer is an election, not an impeachment. Madam President, I yield back.
Madam President.
Senator from South Dakota.
Thank you, Madam President. Today, I rise to discuss the decision on whether to remove the President from office based on the articles of impeachment sent to us by the House of Representatives. Our founding fathers included impeachment, effectively overturning the will of the American electorate, to be used only as a last resort. They trusted the Senate, requiring more solemn judgment than their counterparts in the House, to decide whether an allegation by the House has the substantiality to require removal from office. According to commentaries on the Constitution by Joseph Story, the framers saw the Senate as a tribunal removed from popular power and passions, and from the more dangerous influence of mere party spirit, guided by a deep responsibility to future times. This impeachment process, driven by partisan desire, was rushed and lacked any proper form and substance. This is an attempt by the House to undo the results of the 2016 election and impact the 2020 election. Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution states, and I quote, "The President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors," end of quote. During the debates of the Federal Convention of 1787, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and others relied heavily on Sir William Blackstone's work, Commentaries on the Laws of England, which Madison described as, and I quote, "a book which is in every man's hand." With his work, Blackstone discussed high misdemeanors, which included many crimes against the king and government, including maladministration. According to Blackstone, maladministration applied to high officers in public trust and employment and was punished by the method of parliamentary impeachment. It is from this understanding that the framers selected high crimes and misdemeanors for the impeachment clause in our Constitution. The term high crimes and misdemeanors had a limited and technical meaning that was well known to the framers. It was a term of art. As early as 14th century England, high crimes and misdemeanors were a category of political crimes against the state and were tried in parliamentary impeachments. It should be understood that the word high in high crimes and misdemeanors is a modifying adjective and also applies to the word misdemeanors. High misdemeanors was applied in impeachment proceedings conducted by Parliament long before there was such a crime as a misdemeanor as we know it today. Misdemeanors alone referred to criminal sanctions for private wrongs. High crimes and misdemeanors were charged against officers of the highest rank and favor with the Crown, or who were in judicial or executive offices, and because of their stations, were unindictable by ordinary rules of justice. For those individuals who were not indictable by the ordinary rules of justice, the Founding Fathers, in their subtle brilliance, sought to have something akin to crimes and misdemeanors that allowed them to impeach for great and dangerous crimes committed against the state. As we know, the Founding Fathers specifically adopted the phrase high crimes and misdemeanors. The emphasis on high misdemeanors is important in this context because the House of Representatives has not alleged treason. They have not alleged bribery. Their case rests on whether the articles charged are the types of high crimes and high misdemeanors intended by our framers. In defining high misdemeanors, Blackstone stated, and I quote, "The first and principal is the maladministration of such high officers," end of quote. However, the Founding Fathers specifically chose not to include maladministration as a basis for impeachment. When George Mason and James Madison debated the specific language of the impeachment clause, Mason stated, and I quote, "Why is the provision restrained to treason and bribery only? Treason, as defined in the Constitution, will not reach many great and dangerous offenses. Hastings is not guilty of treason. Attempts to subvert the Constitution may not be treason as above defined," end of quote. Mason then moved to add after bribery or maladministration, to which Madison replied, and I quote, "So vague a term will be equivalent to a tenure during pleasure of the Senate," end of quote. The framers knew what they were adopting when they chose high crimes and misdemeanors. They explicitly rejected maladministration and other vague terms in favor of more specific allegations which had a limited and technical meaning. In the first article of impeachment before the Senate, the question is whether abuse of power as a charge on its own is an impeachable offense. The answer is no. Abuse of power does not have a limited meaning and is as vague as maladministration. The framers actually discussed abuse of power and rejected it. At the Virginia Ratifying Convention, James Erdahl, one of the first justices of the Supreme Court, stated, and I quote, "No power of any kind or degree can be given but what may be abused. We have, therefore, only to consider whether any particular power is absolutely necessary. If it be, the power must be given, and we must run the risk of abuse," end of quote. In the first article of impeachment, the House has claimed that the abuse of power is within the scope of high crimes and misdemeanors. I believe the Founding Fathers saw abuse of power as an inherent risk within the delegation of that authority. The framers did not intend impeachment proceedings to be brought every time an abuse of power is alleged. In the second article of impeachment, the House alleges the President obstructed Congress when he refused to comply with congressional subpoenas. The President rejected the legitimacy of those subpoenas. The House then failed to pursue through the courts, rejecting the court's rightful role in settling disputes between the two branches of government. The separation of powers doctrine recognizes executive privilege as a lawful exercise for the president to protect both presidential and deliberative process communications. The House showed a deliberate disregard for the proper role of the judicial branch and now expects the Senate to gather evidence after they have already impeached. Alleging an obstruction of Congress charge before the House exhausted its remedy for judicial relief would change the balance of power between our co-equal branches of government and ignore the rightful place the courts hold in arbitrating differences between the executive and legislative branches. No branch of government is above the Constitution. We are obligated under oath of office to support and defend it. Article 1, Sections 2 and 3 of the Constitution state, and I quote, "The House shall have the sole power of impeachment, and the Senate shall have the sole power to try all impeachments." The framers intentionally separated these authorities. The Senate does not have the authority to impeach. However, the Senate does have the authority to judge the sufficiency of articles presented to it. The Senate, as a trier of facts, should not overstep its role. It is the House's responsibility to bring the evidence to make their case, not simply make an allegation. This does not mean that the Senate cannot call witnesses, but it most certainly should not be the Senate's obligation to do so because the House failed to do so in the first place. Upon the founding of the Senate, James Madison explained that the Senate would be a necessary fence against the fickleness and passion that tended to influence the attitudes of the general public and members of the House of Representatives. George Washington is said to have told Thomas Jefferson that the framers had created the Senate to cool House legislation, just as a saucer was used to cool hot tea. For impeachment, there can be no difference. When the House is ignited by partisan passions eager to reach a desired result, the Senate must be cool and firm in its heightened review. In recognizing the haste and half-hearted attempt by our colleagues in the House, the Senate must also recognize these articles of impeachment to be wholly insufficient and not warranting a removal from office. Let this decision lie in its rightful place with the electorate. The Senate has conducted a fair, impartial trial. We did our due diligence and fulfilled our constitutional duty. And now it is time to bring this process to a close and get on with the business of the American people who sent us here. I will vote against the articles of impeachment, and in keeping with the constitutional intent our framers expected. Thank you, Madam President. I yield the floor and ask unanimous consent that citations for my remarks be printed in the record.
Without objection.
Madam President.
Senator from New Hampshire.
I come to the floor this afternoon to express my profound disappointment. This is a sad moment in our nation's history. I, like all of us in the Senate, came to this body to try and make a difference for our constituents, to address the kitchen table issues that affect their everyday lives. Lowering prescription drug costs, rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, making college more affordable, protecting our environment, helping our veterans, supporting our small businesses. So many of the things that I and others here have worked on. Now, critics have argued that the impeachment process is nothing more than a political attack orchestrated by those who have wanted to remove this president since his election. I flatly reject that argument. I have repeatedly expressed my reluctance to the use of impeachment. Unfortunately, it is this president's disturbing actions that have put us in this position. President Trump went to great lengths to try and force the Ukrainian president to help smear Joe Biden, his political rival. This scheme included withholding military aid and withholding a meeting at the White House with the Ukrainian president. Each of us here took an oath to support and defend the Constitution. And the Constitution requires us to do this job. It tells us that the Senate shall have the sole power to try all impeachments. And after the power to declare war, the power to impeach is among the most serious and consequential powers granted to Congress by our founding document. When we all stood here at the beginning of this trial, we took an oath to do, and I quote, impartial justice. That should mean a commitment to seek all of the facts. A fair trial means documents and witnesses, facts that will help us better understand the truth. Previous Senates understood this. In fact, every Senate impeachment trial in history included witnesses. Most recently, in the Judge Porteous impeachment trial in 2010, when I was one of the senators who served on that impeachment committee, we heard from 26 witnesses, 17 of whom had not testified before in the House. We believed then that Senate witnesses were important for an impeachment of a district court judge, federal district court judge. So why wouldn't we want witnesses in something as important as an impeachment of a sitting president? We know that documents exist that could help shed more light on this case. We also know of other witnesses with additional firsthand information that we have yet to hear from. We have one witness in particular, former National Security Advisor John Bolton, who has told the world he has relevant information, and he's willing to testify. And yet, despite all of that, the Senate, on a partisan vote, refused to listen to Ambassador Bolton or any other witnesses. Members of this institution have willfully turned their backs on important, relevant, firsthand information. On the articles of impeachment before us, I've listened to the extensive arguments from both the House managers and the defense counsel for the president. I believe the evidence clearly shows that the president abused his power, which has been acknowledged by several Republican senators, and he obstructed Congress, which is why I will be supporting both articles of impeachment. On the first article of impeachment, it is my strong view that the House managers have proved that President Trump withheld military aid and a White House meeting from the government of Ukraine to further his own political interests in the upcoming presidential election and to damage the candidacy of his opponent. The evidence presented to the Senate was overwhelming. Further supporting the House manager's case, the Independent Government Accountability Office, the GAO, concluded that the withholding of military aid to Ukraine was improper and illegal under the law. The nature of the president's offenses outlined in the articles strike at the very heart of our democratic system. Our founding fathers were very concerned about both foreign interference in our democracy and the executive abusing the powers of the office for electoral gain. James Madison warned of a president that, quote, might betray his trust to foreign powers, end quote. George Washington, in his farewell address, warned us all, quote, to be constantly awake, since history and experience prove that foreign influence is
right,
one of the most
guys,
painful
welcome
foes
back. We're
of
gonna
Republican government.
yeah, let's rip this chick out of here.
As a senator who sits on the Armed Services and Foreign Relations Committees, I am keen to observe the
All right, we're
serious
back.
national
Shady
security
Groove,
interests
how
that
are
at
you,
stake
brother?
here.
If you're there, that's cool. We're gonna go ahead and make sure that you guys know that we are going to be live for the State of the Union tonight, guys. State of the Union.
Hey,
there you are. There you are, Shady. We're going to be live for the State of the Union, but we're basically we just had to rip her off stage. I'm just, we don't need to hear their broken record over and over and over. But it was good to hear.
I've heard.
Yeah, it was good to hear, the people that we saw there, though, Shady. You know what I'm saying? Like Cruz, we saw some good guys up there. So that was really nice to see. It wasn't anywhere, Shady.
No, nobody was playing it. I was checking just now. Nobody's playing it anywhere.
They're worried about the Democrat carcass vote.
Yeah, they're worried about corruption.
Corruption and their carcass. Oh my gosh, what a sad time to be. And the State of the Union actually does have a lot to do with impeachment, guys.
Yes, it does.
So I think it's going to be very interesting to see what our president says tonight. So tune back in live. We might start just a little bit before 9 p.m. Eastern. So we're going to go ahead and set up that stream. So make sure you spread the word, folks. Head out over here if you can. But, probably going to take off. Oh, look at yesterday, 23 hours. Of course they're having problems an hour. That was me 24 hours ago before they even really had problems. Very interesting. Did you see this, guys? This was Pompeo, 5-5. You guys get it? 5-5. Chiefs. And, what was also interesting is that I did call, what did I say? The POTUS, so the commander-in-chiefs against the Nancy Pelosi. Right here.
Right.
Future proves past, guys. Here it is. That was my prediction. Who do you want to win the Super Bowl? Kansas City Commander-in-Chiefs or the San Francisco Pelosi District 49ers? Boom.
Seems like a no-brainer.
Is that a Q+? No, that's funny. That's funny. I don't think so. I think this is more demonic than you think, guys. Stage Q, world. I mean, maybe, I don't know, but there was some weird stuff. Gold and silver, new flag, Dr. Tan. So the gold was also, why do people wear gold? Remember the Q post? It didn't seem too good. This was interesting. Kansas City Chiefs is 172. What did he say about that? Kansas City Chiefs 65, 172. I don't know what that means. Oh, Q post 172. Good will always defeat evil. There you go. Okay. I like it. So that's where we're at today, Shady. Let me just see if I can scroll up. Did you cover that? Yeah, you covered that the last time we were on, right? I believe.
No, I don't know that we talked about that, but that's okay.
Okay, we'll just cruise because we're going to take off out of here, but I wanted to show one more thing. Hang on. Before we get there, let me just forget. It's not showing anything. I got to refresh here real quick. Stand by. All right. Here we go.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Wanted to go to this. Here they said that we played that corruption. That guy's awesome. Here we go. Let's check this out, guys. Ready?
It's hard to believe that House Democrats ever really thought this reckless and precedent-breaking process would yield 67 votes to cross the Rubicon. Was their vision so clouded by partisanship that they really believed this would be anywhere near enough for the first presidential removal in American history? Or was success beside the point? Was this all an effort to hijack our institutions for a month-long political rally? Either way, Mr. President, the demon of faction has been on full display.
The demon?
But now it is time for him, the demon, to exit the stage.
Boom.
We haven't.
What do you think of that?
Satan has left the Congress.
Absolutely. And here's my post, play a game of Where Are They Now? Q asked us, remember, play the game of Where Are We Now? So I'm like, was John Kerry assisting the voter fraud at the Iowa caucus, app made by HRC veterans? John Kerry overheard, we talked about that. Look at this. What a racist. Look at this racist. Wow. Such a racist. Amazing, isn't it, guys?
I think everybody's getting ready to see it because it really is their only playbook. They're now calling people that voted for Buttigieg and Biden racist.
Right.
They're going to turn it on their own.
Everybody's a racist. But yet, what I want to show you here is who are the real racists. So this is Duran Ann. So who are the real racists? She has this thing says photographer. Hey, Ben Carson, would you mind sitting in the middle of the picture? Ben Carson, sure, but why? Photographer, no reason. So who's the real racist? Who would... That's a racist comment, Ann. Just so you know. And Ben Carson...
They're not very good at self-policing.
No. But
Really,
they think that... I mean, so I said, you're the racist. Sad. Did you notice Donald Trump was leading, quoting word for word, whatever, da-da-da-da. Racist, only see one color. It is. I mean, I met Ben Carson. He's actually a terrific guy. So that's it. That's how I really wanted to just kind of point out some of those things to you. Oh, let's just show this real quick.
But let's talk about impeachment, what's going on. How is that impacting the campaign? Does it cause you to do things differently, or, do you expect it to be over soon?
Well, the impeachment, the M-I-N-T, that's bringing so much mint, bringing us so much money. I'll tell you, it's activated our base. I mean, the fundraising is out of this world, and I think we've done really good. I mean, we raised $463 million last year, which is a record. The president's continuing to have a great fundraising month. On top of that, every metric we have shows the president up since this happened. I think they miscalculated.
Well, how do you identify its impeachment, mint, as you call it, as opposed to, whatever the issue of the day may be?
Because we send out emails and we ask for people to fundraise off different items and other things. We'll say, look what they're doing today, the radical Democrats with impeachment, and all of a sudden wallets open up. We can see that. So right now, the number one thing that's driving back into fundraising is emails, text messages, communications about the impeachment.
Impeachment. There you go. There you have it. So Shady and I will be back later for the State of the Union. Hopefully we'll see some booms there, guys, and we're going to head out right about now. Here we go. See you guys. Thank you, Shady. We'll see you tonight. Woo! This is supposed to be going right now. Hang on. All right. I guess we lost our thing. We're just going to get on out of here. We'll see you tonight at 9 p.m. Maybe a little bit before. See you.